Good day to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our video discussion today talking about a winter storm that is affecting portions of eastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. It's going to bring quite some pretty significant snow depending on where you are, and it is happening right now, and it's going to happen into the rest of tonight. Just generally going over United and beyond that, generally going over United States weather, what to expect for the rest of the week heading into the weekend. We're going to go over all of that today. So tune in, grab a snack, and let's get started. Starting off with the National Weather Service homepage. Obviously, across the United States, you can see we have quite a bit in terms of watches and warnings. Obviously, we have winter storm warnings in effect for portions of eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. Heavy snow ongoing right now. That's going to continue into tonight and maybe early tomorrow morning. Some areas could see as much as a foot, especially right near the coastline of southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. Some winter storm warnings also in effect for Kentucky, West Virginia, and all the way into the western part of the state of Virginia, not West Virginia. There's a little bit of a difference there. But then back into the Midwest and into the plains, stretching all the way down to Texas. Once again, very, very cold air in place right now. We have extreme cold warnings, and I'll show you some of these temperatures in a little bit. Widespread areas of temperatures below freezing. And it was, I think, colder earlier this week. We saw areas as much as cold as I think in the negative 20s and 30s in the northern plains. It's really, really cold air. That's gonna remain in place across portions of the eastern United States throughout the rest of the week. We're also going to talk about that, but I'm going to show you some of these temperatures in a little bit. Really, really cold across portions of the plains, including Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, all the way down into Texas. And around that, we have cold weather advisories too. And even a freeze watch through portions of southern Georgia and northern Florida. So, once again, lots of cold air in place. And really following the pattern that we've seen this winter of prolonged cold, something that we've not really seen in a while, but it seems to be the theme this winter that we've been able to sustain quite a bit of cold throughout the United States, and it looks like it's going to stay that way at least for the next several days. But really quickly, let's go to what we have in terms of active weather right now, and that is over portions of Virginia and North Carolina, where you're dealing with a winter weather event. And you could see on the satellite a strong front across the Gulf, but then you could also see some convective activity across portions of southern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. And you can even see where we have quite heightened convective activity too. There's actually quite a bit of heavy snow occurring right now across portions of southern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina, and you can even see that on the radar right now. And let me really quickly refresh it. And you could even see really heavy band of snow beginning to set up over portions of north central and northeastern North Carolina. That band, and it's also over portions of southern southeast Virginia. That band is going to set up and it's going to move continuously to the east throughout the rest of the afternoon into the evening. Probably going to bring heavy snow up to a foot. And then you could also see from there to the south of that, we have heavy rain in the Gulf as well. I think probably some chance for some thunderstorms depending on where you are across Florida today. And then also through the central part of North Carolina, you can see some of these pinks and purples in here, indicating a mixing of freezing rain and sleet. So you'll have to watch out for that as well. Nuisance winter weather. And then, of course, to the south of that, across South Carolina and through Georgia right now, or at least through most of the day, Georgia, you had some rain, but that's now moving to the east. The main focus, once again, over portions of northern North Carolina and across Virginia, where right now looks like there's heavy snow happening, and you can even see it. This is by the Storm Prediction Center, and the Storm Prediction Center usually releases stuff when it relates to severe weather, but they also release these mesoscale discussions whenever there's heavy snow going on, and that's actually what they highlighted this in effect till 6 o'clock this evening. So kind of highlighting once again through the rest of the afternoon into this evening, we're going to have heavy snow across portions of the Carolinas and Virginia today. They're highlighting moderate to heavy snow rates around 1 inch per hour. So quite the heavy snow occurring across portions of, once again, southern Virginia and northern North Carolina. I could even see some of these bigger name towns like Greensboro and Durham, North Carolina, and even Norfolk and Virginia Beach. Some areas that you're going to get that will probably see quite a bit of heavy snow. And at least when it comes to the timing and obviously the total snowfall as well, once again, heavy snow, as much as 8 to 12 inches, so pretty much up to a foot across the far northern parts of northern North Carolina and, of course, southern Virginia. Norfolk being one of them. You even have Elizabeth City, North Carolina, up to a foot, and even up to portions of southern Virginia at the opening of the Delmarva, I think, 6 to 8 inches. And you can even see extending into places like Richmond, 4 to 6 inches. Once again, all of this happening over the next several hours. And it's going to last as well into tomorrow as well. I'll show you some of the models in a little bit, but we might even, the general main event is going to continue into tonight. We might even get a few extra snow showers across the entire Northeast, including extending into parts of the Carolinas and Virginia into tomorrow. And the National Weather Service highlights that. Additional bursts of snow possible between 7 a.m. and noon Thursday, which could lead to additional accumulations. And as obvious, if you are in Virginia and North Carolina today, don't travel. Stay home. The roads will be very, very treacherous, as you know, winter weather, especially when it comes to heavy snow and even, mixing like we could see across some parts of North Carolina today. That is very, very dangerous for traveling. And it's also treacherous as well for power lines. They also say power outages are possible as well. So that's the situation with winter weather. But as I did mention as well, there's also lots of very, very cold air in place, especially across the plains in the Midwest today. And you can even see that these are the current temperature readings across the United States right now. A very nice map by the National Weather Service. And you can see Oklahoma, first thing that pops out, look at that. This is Oklahoma in the Vance Air Force Base. Oh, look at that, Vance. Temperature right now, 8 degrees into Nebraska. And as I kind of move this map, the readings kind of go away and then they come back. A little bit annoying, but at least you could see a lot of these readings. Look at this. North Dakota, I just saw one reading here. -4. Bismarck, -2. Into South Dakota, if this could come back, there we go. Lots of negatives and even some temperature readings right at the 0 degree mark. So obviously very, very cold, and it extends all the way into Texas. So you could see Amarillo, Texas, 9 degrees, so single digits, and even into Dallas as well, well below freezing, 16 degrees. So not pleasant, especially if you're in the South and you don't like the cold weather, which once again really have gotten a lot of cold weather, even into Louisiana. Look at that. Temperatures below freezing, 27, 28. What is this? 27, Monroe Regional Airport. And then this is Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, 28 degrees. A little bit warmer though once you get towards the coast. This is, what is this? Houma, Louisiana, and right near New Orleans, 47, 48. And then right along the Gulf Coast, especially near Houston and near the Texas, Louisiana coast, upper 30s into the low 40s, which is, I guess especially along the Gulf Coast, definitely used to much warmer weather. And so 30s and 40s is still probably very cold. And once again, just really a highlight of very weirdly quite a bit of cold weather that we've had this past winter. And I'll show you once again in a little bit that cold weather is going to remain in place at least for the next several days. But really quickly going over the shorter range, at least when it comes to winter weather in North Carolina and Virginia. Just looking at the HRRR over the next several hours. I'm going to move it into time. You could see as we head into this afternoon and evening, already occurring right now, but a strong snow band will set up over portions of North Carolina and Virginia into the afternoon and evening. It lasts pretty much, I guess, until 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock tonight, and then it begins to let up. And then, of course, we have showers and thunderstorms across the Gulf. Those then move into Florida and Western Florida later today. Nothing severe, though. I'm going to show you severe weather in just a moment. Looks like we're not going to have much in the way of severe weather, but very heavy snow through northeast North Carolina and Virginia, Eastern Virginia once again today. And this is 5 o'clock Eastern time on the model. So this is 22Z and 5 o'clock Eastern time. And then also, once again, through central Eastern North Carolina, could see some mixing. As you can see on the model, some of these purples and pinks, freezing rain and sleet. And then this all continues into tonight, and then it moves out into the early morning hours of tomorrow. The main system moves out, and then a low pressure develops off the Carolinas coast because we have a low pressure in the Gulf right now. But then another one develops off the southeast coast, and then that all moves out as we head into the day tomorrow. And then, as you can see, as the National Weather Service said, this is tomorrow, late tomorrow morning into early tomorrow afternoon. We have snow showers that make their way and move east across portions of the Carolina and Virginia. So we might get a few quick bursts that might add a few extra snowflakes to the totals across portions of Virginia and North Carolina tomorrow. And then that moves out as we head into Friday. And then, as you can see, a high pressure takes over. And I'm really quickly going to switch this over now to the GFS so we could get the longer range pattern. You can see low pressure develops off the southeast associated with the winter storm tonight. Moves out into the Atlantic tomorrow and really becomes a powerful system. I think 970s, or at least that's what I saw when I looked at the GFS earlier. 970s just south of Canada, so really becomes a powerful storm out to the east. But really quickly, want to note we have high pressure, very strong over the east, and this is a cold high, so pretty much means very, very cold air that'll be in place across the entire eastern half of the United States, which I'll show you in just a moment. And I've been saying that a lot, but really in just a moment, I'll be showing you that. But notice, especially across the Northeast, on the backside of this low pressure, notice the flow coming out of the north. So lots of cold air that'll be coming in from the north. And this will actually probably bring, looks like, at least if you look at the model, we might get some lake effect snow in New York and maybe along the lakes in upstate New York and I guess Eastern PA Western PA as well. And then also with this northerly flow, we're going to get some snow showers across portions, once again, Virginia and North Carolina. And then also, I looked at the HRRR for the Northeast, and let's actually really quickly bring up the Northeast. I'll show you the HRRR. They also show these snow showers as well for portions of the coastal mid-Atlantic and Northeast too, and that kind of lasts into Thursday, into early Friday as well. Look at that, snow showers into northern New Jersey and New York and even Long Island as well. And by the looks of it, it kind of seems like we almost have this northerly flow creating this sort of influence off the ocean, kind of like an ocean effect snow, if you know what I mean, where we have cold air. It's kind of like lake effect when we have cold air blowing off the surface of the lakes, creates snow showers. Pretty much that kind of setup, but along the ocean. So ocean effect snow looks like the ARRR kind of shows a little bit of that um, Thursday night into Friday. And then that system moves out. We have a strong high pressure in the east, and that pretty much remains throughout the entire weekend. And so, pretty much, then we kind of end off on a quieter note, at least heading into the weekend, into early next week. And then it looks like a low pressure dip south from Canada, and maybe that might bring a little bit more winter weather. Let's see what it does. Actually, kind of stays further to the north. Maybe some snow showers for portions of New England into early next week. But nothing too significant. No crazy winter weather or severe weather event seems to be on the horizon, at least over the next 5 and I guess 7 days, and then we start to see a low pressure develop. But and this actually does bring some sort of weather to the northeast and eastern half of the United States once again, but that is 7 to 8 days, and you can see quite a bit of heavy snow through portions of the Midwest. But that's 7 to 8 days. We'll get there when the time comes. But meanwhile, looks like we're going to end off on a quiet note as we head towards the weekend. Maybe quite a bit of active weather in the way for portions of the Pacific Northwest, heavy rain and snow for the inland mountain areas, and that lasts from now. You can see it wave after wave after wave. Heavy rain, snow for the pack, I guess, in the Pacific Northwest, and that lasts pretty much towards the end of the week as well. But it's not going to be in terms of the active weather that we're talking about, at least for the eastern half of the United States. Let me really quickly reset the GFS. The biggest thing, and look at that, just as right as I bring up the map, the 2-meter temperature anomaly for temperatures, at least on the GFS. Look at how much cold air we have in place right now. Look at that. Very, very cold. Even, what is that, 20, -16, -20, at least in terms of anomalies relative to normal. Quite a bit of cold air in place across the entire central and eastern half of the United States, really, especially though over the Great Plains. As I showed you earlier on, we have excessive cold warnings in effect. And that pretty much remains in place for the rest of the week. We're into Thursday tomorrow, then on into Friday, kind of lets up over the Great Plains, but then it extends further east, and we have really cold temperatures that extend into the south once again. So we kind of have colder, warmer air in place, at least for Florida, and then it cools down as we get towards the end of the week, and then into the weekend, all the way on out into Sunday, before, as we get into early next week, Monday, things begin to warm up again. But for the rest of the week, look at all that cold that is in place. Very unfortunate, and once again, following this pattern, once again, of lots of cold air in place over a pretty large chunk of the United States. Not going to lead to much, though, when it comes to winter weather, and that's kind of what I was segueing, though, into what I was about to say. Kind of unfortunate that has not led to a setup, at least for the coastal Northeast and New England, because we've actually had, especially if you recall several weeks ago, we had enough cold air that we were able to get a snowstorm along the Gulf Coast of all places. Double-digit snow totals for New Orleans and even parts of the Panhandle, if you remember that. Kind of unfortunate, at least talking from a Northeast snow lover, that we were not able to get these setups where we clearly have a lot of cold air in place. Kind of unfortunate we weren't able to get one of these low pressures that developed over the plains to really line up properly with the jet stream that is supplying all of this cold air, and really hook up off the East Coast, but then actually move north to where we were able to get some sort of coastal low that would be a big snow dumper for DC to Boston. We really have not had that setup come to fruition. And I say come to fruition because as you probably know, and if you've been tracking winter weather, it's been forecasted, and a lot of people have been talking about the potential for that many times over the course of this winter so far. Even in fact, if we go to this past Saturday when I did my weekly tropical weather outlook, the GFS was showing the potential for that kind of setup with a strong, coastal low off the northeast, dumping heavy snow to coastal New Jersey, New York, Long Island, and generally the northeast and New England. We've not had that setup yet this winter that's actually come to fruition. And as it stands right now, we're in February. We're still in February. We still have about a week and a half left, but we're running out of time. But it's really unfortunate because we have a lot of cold air in place. It's going to last towards the end of the week. And then it seems like as we get in towards next week, it's going to warm back up, but probably looking long range. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another cold shot to come back down. But by that time, we're already into late February and we're already going to be heading into early March, when we're then going to start talking a lot more about severe weather season. And really quickly, just going to segue into severe weather, which there's not much to talk about, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of time left, is my point that I'm making for potentially a big coastal winter storm for the Northeast. But you never know. You never know, because sometimes it's happened in March, even though it's just not the same. You don't have the same kind of cold air that we get, like this huge outbreak of cold that we have right now. We still get it because we're in February. We're still into meteorological winter, which ends in March. March 1st is the start of meteorological spring, even though actual spring doesn't begin till around March 20th. The cold air is just not the same. But we'll see. Let's really quickly just see. Yeah, as we head in towards early March, once we get beyond the 7 to 10 day time frame, once again, probably we're going to keep this cold air in place for the rest of this week. As we head into next week, we see a warm up, and then probably beyond that, another cool down. Kind of been a pattern that we've seen over the last several weeks in general throughout this winter so far. But by that time, when we get the next cool down, we'll be into March, and we'll be running out of time for any major winter weather event in the Northeast to actually come to fruition with enough cold air. But we'll see. It's happened before, so we'll see. But really quickly though, as we're now going to be heading into March, we're going to have to watch severe weather. And there's been talk about potentially an active severe weather season. So we'll see about that. But at least for now, today, once again, as I mentioned before, we have some shower and thunderstorm activity happening over parts of Florida. And as you can see, there's a highlight potential for some thunderstorm activity for Florida today, but nothing severe. So that's good. And then into tomorrow and into the end of the weekend, even into the next 4 to 7 days, it remains quiet when it comes to severe weather. That, though, is definitely going to change as we head into the next several weeks and as we head into March. Very, very sure that severe weather will probably get active, and we'll probably have that to talk about in very short order. And then after that, we get into the summer. We have hurricane season, that in which we're actually going to go over in a little bit more detail this weekend, because the 100-day mark of the hurricane season is actually coming up. I think it's coming up on Friday. But as you know, as I typically do on this channel, I do weekly tropical weather outlooks on Saturday. So we're just going to do a video then. And if you're actually interested in that, since we're ending off the video now, would really appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you can get whenever I upload videos. And of course, if you found today's video interesting, not only for yourself, but maybe for somebody else, share with family and friends as well. Get the word spreading, and just generally keep everybody on top of the weather, especially tropical weather, which is what I tend to do more on this channel. But today, since we have a winter storm, thought, why not mention and talk about that for a little bit. But other than that, not much else happening. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you are in the Carolinas and in Virginia, and anybody that's getting snow, enjoy, stay off the roads, stay home, and stay warm. Peace, love, and kindness to you all, and we'll talk again very soon.